They're tracking enemy ults. They're playing passively and aggressively at the correct times. But UCI, what we saw to them was just sheer mechanical dominance. And I really want to see, which one reigns supreme in this meta. That mechanical prowess, that huge aggression, or the more structured play from UCLA.
And now we are loaded up to map number 1. It is going to be Ilios as we start off on well here. UCLA and UC Irvine, they're going to be running the same tank compositions, but it's the DPS where they swap off. They do have the McCrees, but it's going to be Roxa on that pseudo-sniper, the Hanzo, while Zerocious, he's known for this. He's bringing out the Widowmaker.
What's really interesting to me is both teams are running basically double hit scan. Obviously, Hanzo's not hit scan, but he's close to it. And we see the Widow and McCree probably going to take 2 different angles as we see the hooks coming out already from this Orisa Roadhog composition.
Yeah, that halt hook combination, we know it so well, especially here on well. And there it is again! Juggernaut gets taken out as Tilde is able to send him into the deep depths of the Ilios well, and so UCI will go ahead and aggress onto UCLA and finish off Preston here. And that's going to be Genos even taking onto the front line, picking up 2 before he gets put to sleep. A well-deserved nap.
This is looking really crazy. This is going to be a very chaotic map because you have the Lucios, the Orisas, the Roadhogs. All of these guys have movement abilities, CC, that can pull you into the pit. And so expect a lot of that, a lot of pit action, I would say.
Juggernaut trying his best there to not make any noise. Here's the halt hook. Once again, it's learned to play brought in, but he's got the fortified. Juggernaut has to take a breather, but that's only going to give him the damage reduction. Zerocious, though, was able to get a nice pick off onto 7. So the McCree is gone, but UCLA will continue to push forward. They try to go in, but the whole hog is there to disengage, and so Juggernaut has to back away. Roxa finds a double kill now, taking out Select and Zerocious, and so now they are going to push forward with that man advantage, and UCLA punish UC Irvine for taking a very aggressive hold there on well, and they will be able to flip it. UCI taking 43%.
Really good play out of Roxa. That's what you want to see out of the double hit scan. You want to see them not taking the same angle against the Orisa shield, because then you're just doing useless damage against the shield. But you want to see them flanking around, making sure that they can always find an opening. But as I say that, Zerocious takes out 7 on the Widowmaker.
Yeah, no mercies in play, so no resurrections. It's 7 going down early once again, but UCLA, they back away. They know they needed buy time for 7 to get back here. Zerocious takes to the sky as the Deadeye is used. Nano boost onto Zerocious of all members, but they were able to kite away where UCLA, so no real damage going across right now. There it is with the halt, with the damage boost, everything. He was able to get that kill onto Juggernaut. It's going to be Isaac this time, fighting a second onto Preston. And like that, UC Irvine just take control of the point. They'll flip it. It's 45 to 38%.
Really odd fight, I would say. Once that nano boost went onto the Widowmaker, you don't expect her to do too much, but she actually was able to take out Juggernaut because of the nano boost. Still a bit of a strange decision, I would say, but we're going to have to see what UCLA does on the retake.
And yeah, it's going to be UCI. They've got the supercharger along with the sound barrier here. On UCLA, they're just trying to find an opening. So it's going to be Shield Wars for now. Halt hook, once again, Tilde doesn't actually get brought in, gets dropped low, but of course he's got that take a breather. He's got the damage reduction and the heal as the supercharger is used there. That's going to allow Genos to take out Preston. And so now UCLA have to reset again. Hook comes in, great nade, and that's going to be Juggernaut falling, both hogs going down.
But UCLA needs to be careful. There's so little percent left to cap the point, and they need to make sure that they can contest it with a good fight rather than just straggling here. Roxa does take out Zerocious, so that's a good start.
That's going to be a great start. That means they don't have to worry about that Widowmaker. When they make these peaks, the supports can play a little bit more aggressive. They've got the Nano. They've got 4 ultimates in tow right now. Everything they could use to try and contest this as the High Noon is used by 7. But that's just UCI, just kiting backwards, but Genos peaks way too early, gets taken out.
We call that the Electric Cowboy, the Nano boost onto the McCree. That's a big nade, but it does look like UCI is able to actually boop everybody off the point.
Yeah, that was great coordination there as the sound barriers are used by both sides. UCI, 5 members get it. Genos doesn't, but it doesn't matter. He's still getting damage across along with Tilde. He's nano boosted with that whole hog, and that's going to be UCI taking the point first.
Certainly a bit back and forth, but still strong performance out of UCI. We saw them playing very similar compositions, I would say. It ended up becoming a mirror actually later on. But when UCI had control of the point, had the ultimate advantages, they were able to close it out and bring it to the next map.
Yeah, we saw both teams were actually trying to coordinate those halt hook combinations. UCLA got the better of it for the most part up until the end there. That was actually something that I haven't seen in a while because, well, we didn't really get to see Ana throughout most of OWL,
Yes.
but a halt into a biotic nade of all things. It worked out quite well. but we'll see what kind of compositional changes we get. UCI, as we load on to the next point, Lighthouse, they are going to go for the Ryan Zarya, while UCLA are going for this modified dive. They've got Juggernaut on the Hammond, the Wrecking Ball, and 7 back onto the Doomfist now.
They've taken very aggressive positioning, UCLA has. I'm not really sure about this composition just because it doesn't look like really the heroes synergize with each other. And as I say that, 7 does get taken down. So UCI at the advantage right now in this first fight.
Yeah, they want to just be able to walk up on them, especially with this tank line, with the Reinhardt, with the Zarya. They are relatively, close range. The point unlocks Genos versus Roxa. Roxa has to be careful. Luckily, he is able to climb out of danger there. But here comes the dive out now from UCLA. Juggernaut gets in way too deep, gets taken out by Genos here, and it's just 1 by 1 stalling coming out from UCLA. They're going to eventually concede the point here, but it's Genos just building up ultimate charge for free.
And I wonder if we're going to see any composition swaps because I'm not really certain about the Hanzo alongside Doomfist and Wrecking Ball. I think that you'd want to run something like a Sombra, a Tracer, something that can get into the backline because Hanzo, a bit too passive for my liking.
Yeah, he's only at 82% right now, and he does have to contest with something like learn to play Shield at Reinhardt. Even though he's getting a lot of space, I guess, created by Juggernaut and 7, he's still not getting the critical damage, which is really what you need with a Hanzo, but with any sniper. Here comes the dive, though. Up on top, Juggernaut gets that pile driver down, but he's instantly just CC'd up. Remember, Zerocious is on that Brigitte. They've got to be careful. Rally is used as a huge biotic nade lands, but they're not able to punish them quite yet. Juggernaut has a kite once again. The nano boost is used onto him, and he's able to just burn down Zerocious here. We do have the high noon, and he's booped off. Genos gets taken out. Juggernaut coming in huge with that Wrecking Ball. Now we do have a counter nano coming out from Learn to Play. Earthshatter is used. Here comes the self-destruct. Learn to Play with the 2-for-1 on that Fire Strike. Keeps it alive for his team. Graviton and Surge is now used. Juggernaut staying alive with the sound barrier, and it looks like UCLA might just have what it takes. Juggernaut is dropped low, though. 7 gets in time, though. He's got that, of course, Meteor Strike. UCI make it costly from both sides. Now UCLA will be able to end up taking the points. 66%, though, goes the way of UCI.
And this is what we're used to from UCI, those really long, drawn-out, brawly fights. It went from 30% to 66. Now, I thought it was really interesting to see how low the Hammond went, and then suddenly got his shield up, because into those tank comps, you get so much shield. But as we go into the next fight, both McCrees get a pick.
Yeah, it's the main tank, though, for the Sombra, so UCI can still push into this. Instead, they're going to go ahead and take their time. They've got to be careful, because that means, of course, Doomf is getting his cooldowns back, but that just meant 7 put himself in danger until it takes him out. We've got the High Noon, the Deadeye coming out. Genos, he's got Diva in his face, but he will get the DMAC with that fully charged up High Noon there. And just like that, UCI just walk into the point and take it for free.
Patient High Noon, it pays off, and they're able to take the point fairly easily, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, there weren't too many eliminations exchanged right there, and UCI I don't know. UCLA were, I think they got a little bit too aggressive. There was no presence on the point whatsoever. They gave it up for free. Juggernaut has to be careful. Zerocious is there. Playing this Wrecking Ball into Sombra is so hard.
And it looks like UC Irvine's going to have the EMP. So whatever play comes out of UCLA, they're going to have to keep that in the back of their mind. I'm not sure that they're looking out for it, but they're going to have to contest the point at 99.
Stranger almost has his sound barriers, so as soon as he pops that Zerocious, it's going to be like, yeah, this is easy for me. It's a 2-for-1 exchange. Isaac Birdie is the only one to go down on UCI, but there it is. The EMP strips so many of the shields gone now. UCI just able to clean up for easily, almost for free now, as the Graviton Surge is used. Overtime is going to go ahead and tick away. Tang still not able to get his nano up, and so Juggernaut will fall after this Earth Shatter, and just like that, UCI will take a 2-0 here on Ilios.
Yeah, certainly they look like they were in control for, I would say, most of that map. It was really back and forth. Those fights were really drawn out. They're really brawly, but I thought what UCI was able to do is they were able to come back with their reinforcements and make the most of those difficult scenarios, I would say.
Yeah, they know how to draw out these fights and wait out for more of their respawns to come back in. Again, I kind of question, running that really divey composition, continuing to run, especially that Wrecking Ball against the Sombra. We got to see, we didn't, over the last 2 months since the changes and since the addition of Wrecking Ball, we had to come to know that, yeah, a Sombra hack is really good against the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that their comps were a bit I would say trying to do too much of too many different things rather than focusing on one specific idea, right? So I'd rather see something like the Tracer Doomfist, as I said earlier, alongside the Wrecking Ball if they're going to run that. Or maybe they can peel more for Roxa, swap off the Doomfist, although Seven has been doing really well on it, and swap off the Wrecking Ball, which I think was maybe the biggest problem. He did a lot of work early on, but wasn't able to really be much of a factor later on in the map.
Yeah, it can be kind of like, yeah, either you carry or you feed, and it's hard to kind of middle as a Doomfist, right? You do one or the other, but at this point, at some point, you do need to allow Roxa to kind of put his carry pants on. We saw what he got to do on Hanzo earlier today when we were playing Li Zhang. Maybe give him that space, but create like you had mentioned, a more one-dimensional team composition that's easier to succeed. That's why we got to see so many Reinhardt Zarya along with the Hanzo, just because you were talking about it, the innate synergy, the composition that they were running on Lighthouse kind of really lacked that. It was too many dimensions there.
Now, what UCI is really good at is those mechanical fights, those long drawn-out fights, and I think that really excels on those control maps, right? Now, going into the next map, I'm not sure they'll have that same advantage, and I think UCLA has that more structured play, I would say, from combining the ultimates, what we were seeing earlier with Roxa and Syracuse, comboing their ultimates a lot, also Syracuse and Seven. So I'm really interested to see if other map modes will help UCLA put up more of a fight against this UCI team.
Yeah, try to get more of that Zarya in there. I mean, if Graviton into anything, really. It's a great combination, and he was doing a fantastic job on it. But they don't have Syracuse. They did actually sub in Preston to play their off-tank role. So that's another thing that we actually didn't talk about, the kind of dimension in a lot of these collegiate teams. Because of, well, basically how your schedule works out. You have to balance it with school, right? So you do need these subs to come on in. UCI, though, it looks like this is basically their main squad. Learn to play a veteran with them along with Select until they... Zerocious, Isaac Birdie, and Genos, more of the new faces to the team. Isaac Birdie's been around. He has substituted in for UCI, but now this is him starting for the main roster. So we are here on Numbani for the second map between UCI and UCLA in the grand finals of the Collegiate Clash. And it looks like we have Genos on that Genji, as Zerocious will go ahead and pick up the Pharah, but it's Genos to start it all off. Roxa is gone.
And again, we're seeing a very aggressive team fight out of UC Irvine. They're going in for the dive really quickly, although a purple nade does stop Tilde in his tracks.
Again, Zerocious, though, is able to patiently wait out these Diva defense matrices here. They have to be careful. Learn to play has dropped low, but Seven goes way too far on that Doomfist. Easy coming out from UCI now. It's only Genos to fall there. Ultimately, Roxa will clean up Select, but still, even though both supports are gone, they've already got one tick, about to get a second here, going to clean up Roxa. And with that, UCI take point A of Numbani.
I think Genos played that really well. You saw that opening pick onto Roxa to open up that map, and all of a sudden, once you have the Pharah in your face doing so much damage, it's really hard to contest. Now, Zerocious and Genos are both coming up close to their ultimates, and there's only one sound barrier between that Blade and UCLA. So I'm really looking to see what they can do to counter out those ultimates.
Yeah, right now UCLA just trying to regroup with the rest of the team. They don't want to feed anything over. They got to be careful. But they do have Roxa now swapping off onto the Widowmaker, so we'll see if he can try and deal with Zerocious. But, Zerocious has been really smart about how he utilizes these sightlines. He's not giving up anything for free so far. The UCLA, sooner or later, they have to contest. Take a look, Zerocious, he's waiting. He's got the barrage. He goes right in there, but Roxa is able to take him out, instantly shutting him down.
Yeah, and the Diva Bomb comes in, isn't able to get much as the fight continues on, but it looks like UCI is at the disadvantage here. Roxa able to take out the Pharah once she went for the barrage. Now, I thought that was a bit of a greedy play. He was LOSing so well on that building, and then all of a sudden drops down to where Roxa has him in his line of sight, and eventually the play doesn't work out.
Yeah, he instead of, having it burst through the bubble, he's like, no, I'll just fall right on in and then do it. But Roxa punished him instantly. Zerocious, he thought maybe I'll go for a counter Widow. Instead, he goes over to the Sombra, and Sombra can be really good here, especially with that infinite stealth that you were talking about. You can take your time to set up these dives. We'll see how the dive goes out. It's going to be a Nano Blade going on, and Genos gets booped on back as the sound barrier is used by UCLA. Genos isn't able to find anything at all because he doesn't get the dash resets. He's not able to use it to full potential, but Isaac Birdie takes out saying Genos. Taken out by Roxa, who's able to patiently wait that out. It's going to be the supportal combat as Isaac Birdie takes out 2 on that Lucio. UCI, the Nano Blade doesn't do much, but it doesn't matter. They've got Isaac Birdie just fragging out along with Learn to Play. And with that, UCI will go ahead and take the second point here. They've got 5 minutes moving on to the third phase of Numbani.
And it was looking so good for UCLA. Once they waited out that Dragon Blade, he wasn't able to get anything from it. But what happened was the tanks on the point got isolated. They were able to get purple nated by Select, and after that, the rest was history. UCI was able to finish off the fight.
Here's the infinite stealth that we were talking about earlier. Zerosh is just scouting this all out, gets a good hack off onto Preston, but they're not going to push the limit just quite yet as the Primal Rage is used by Juggernaut. Buying time for his team. Drop down to half HP. Has to be careful. Zerosh, he's got the EMP out now, and he's making his way into the back line. No one spams him quite yet. Zerosh gets a huge EMP off, and it's going to be Rockstar to go down first. Learn to play, changes targets. Instead, he backs away because he's trying to counter dive against this Winston now. Juggernaut is still alive as 7 is in the back line. Gets the second kill, taking out Select. So they have been able to stabilize here. Meteor Strike is used. We'll see if anything comes of it. No. And so it looks like UCI might be able to continue this push.
Decent follow-up, but it's very interesting that 7 was able to get away with that and still get picks off in the backline, because as a Doomfist, you have really nothing you can do once you're hacked. All of your damage comes from your abilities except for your primary fire, but you're not using that to get your kills.
Now 7 making an interesting swap off. He goes over to that to the Reaper. I forgot for a second because we don't get to see him often. We'll see if he actually swaps back or if he was just doing for like a last-ditch effort, but it looks like he will. He wants to try and deal with Learn to Play, who is going in pretty heavy with that Winston so far. He's sitting right onto the point already. You saw Learn to Play drop down to half HP. Sound Barrier is used along with the Primal Rage, but here's the Blade now out from Genos as he tries to take out that Reaper. It's going to be the Boostio coming on out, but nothing comes of it. It's Learn to Play with the Primal Rage, taking out Juggernaut now. 2 kills going over for UCI. They're just mere meters away from taking this point with plenty of time. 4 members gone for UCLA, only to take Preston here to try and contest. Rox is going to try and make his way on back. Here comes Juggernaut now. He's going to be able to get a good, huge shield, but he gets booped back by Isaac. And with that, UCI, they've got about 3 minutes on the clock finishing out this map.
Very, very strong push coming out of UCI. UCLA swapped to that sort of stall comp where they wanted to get the Hammond on the point, circling around, trying to keep people away from the attack, right? And the Reaper was there to prevent the dive, but it looked like UCI had all the ultimates that they needed to cleanly finish out that fight and move on to the next phase of the map.
Yeah, I mean, it almost worked. Learn to Play when he jumped in before he even landed with the rockets. He was chunked down to about 50 HP, right? He would have died if it wasn't for the sound barrier along with his Primal Rage, but of course, that's what he knew. Jumping in, he had the get out of jail free card with that Primal Rage. But UCI trying to continue their tradition of dominance here in Overwatch with 3 minutes remaining, basically, on the clock. That is huge for them. So once again, thank you guys, everyone, for coming out to the LA Valiant, basically block party. They've got it set up outside here on the streets of Santa Ana here by the Esports Arena. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to look outside quite yet, but they've got like this Junker Town kind of setup going on out there. It's actually pretty sick. It's pretty sick. And so UCI now, they're going to be on the defense, and we got to see Genos earlier on this Soldier 76, and this isn't something that we get to see often, but they're going to go with triple tank, and it's going to be Zerosh going over to the Roadhog for the defense. What do you think about that?
Very interesting. I'm really curious to see what they'll do with it. They're going to build very fast nano boost, presumably, because Zerosh is going to take a lot of damage. UCLA, this is kind of what I expected out of them. Rock's on the hit scan, and 7 still on his classic Doomfist. Now, I really want to see how they're going to be able to coordinate those dives, because if 7 can't get a clean dive off with Juggernaut, it's going to be very useless on this point. And there's the Roadhog. Almost gets Roxa.
It's so close. It was so close, but somehow it misses Roxa. The hitbox, it's pretty good, especially right there. Zerosh is picking up 2. Wow. Is just able to use that scrap gun. Cleans up 2, and that's just the push done for UCLA. They have to reset.
And they certainly weren't ready for this kind of pick. Look at him sitting down. It might look BM because it's an emote, but no, what he's actually doing is looking down that hallway and making sure that he can see what's going on around that corner. I think it's a really interesting kind of adaptation. He's going to be hooking people that are trying to dive the rest of his team on that right high ground, right? So I'm not sure how UCLA is going to adapt to this, but I think that they should be able to take care of the Roadhog first before finishing off this fight.
Yeah, and that's great. That was the entire plan there, was to just go after that Roadhog, but the counter dive comes out from UCI. But it's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange. Learn to play falls. Sang fell on the side of UCLA, though. They've got to be careful. They're trying to create space for Roxa, but it doesn't matter. Huge Biotic Nade. Select cleaning up 2 there. Juggernaut goes down along with 7. And, you know, that was a bit overcommittal, I would say, on to Zerocious. You saw from Juggernaut's point of view that the plan was, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and try to get rid of this hog, but that did not work out.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, Tilde was ready for that. I think that UCI kind of knows what's going on, right? They know that UCLA is going to want to isolate this Roadhog and take him out before they finish the rest of their play. But Zerocious is playing very smart. He's baiting them in to try and take him out, while Tilde comes and peels for him, as well as learn to play.
Yeah, and especially if they could bait out something like the Biotic Nade. Like, you don't want to just waste it onto a hog, but you kind of have to. Whole hog is used here as he gets punched around. Slep Dart, but it's going to be Genos now with that Nano Visor cleaning up 3. 7 trying to equalize this, but 3 minus 2. That's still a one-man advantage for UCI now. They do have to be careful. 7 still in the back here, and he gets another kill on to Learn to Play, finally falling as he only takes out 3. Sorry, you got to get 6, 7.
6, 7.
I did not. That was not planned at all, but actually it was.
So UCI seems like they're just having the ultimate advantage at the correct times, and they're able to counter all of these plays that UCLA is trying to make. UCLA seems to have the right idea, but they're not executing in the best way, I would say. And you're seeing, you know, that nano visor come out, clean up the rest of the fight.
It was great. Genos, of course, is able to maintain that position on the high ground, which is that power position for a Soldier 76. But now it's going to be UCLA with the ultimate advantage. They've got the Infrasight coming out from, of course, that Widowmaker. Zerocious on the high ground is getting close to a whole hog, but it's the sound barriers used by both sides here. They're trying to stall out this fight for as long as possible. And Nano was used by Sang. I would imagine it went on to Juggernaut, who even used that Primal Rage, but that's coming up. Finally, they get the first pick onto Zerocious. 2 going on over. Genos is gone, and that's huge for the side of UCLA. High noon.
Falls, but there's Tankle coming out of here. Learn to play. Oh, but he's able to take out. Sorry, who is that?
Stranger going down.
Stranger
yeah.
goes down.
Tilde picking up 2, and that's you know, just the kind of different mode that a diva can go onto, right? And Tilde coming from a DPS background, he's used to fragging out, and he's gonna want to hunt people down. UCI will be able to hold on by having basically their tanks alive that entire time, and so it's coming down to the last push for UCLA.
And that was pretty much the best opening to the fight that UCLA could have hoped for. Roxa does fall early because he doesn't get the healing fast enough, but unfortunately UCLA can't push forward, and this is looking like their last fight.
Yeah, and they had to make changes, right? 7 goes over to the Genji, Roxa goes over to that Tracer, and so it's a full-on dive, but we'll see. They don't have any tools behind it. While Genos has another Tactical Visor. Learn to Play takes out 7. It's a 6v5, but Genos is looking to clean this all up. Zerocious on the back onto Sang, and that is going to be it. UCI cleaning up. This has to be a huge self-destruct, but that was a perfect barrier coming up from Learn to Play, eating that all up, and with that, UCI will hold on to point A. They take the second map in the series.
And this is looking really dominant out of UCI. You know, a full hold and also the 2-0 on the control map. They're looking very strong entering this series.
UCI in this best of 5, I believe. They're already 2 maps ahead on match point here at the Collegiate Clash. They're just continuing their streak, their tradition of dominance here in the collegiate scene. And this is a team that you really do have to look out for.
And what's really interesting to me is they're bringing out these novel compositions. You know, you see the triple tank with Zerocious on the Roadhog, and he's took up so much space on his own. We saw UCLA trying to focus him while he was just, you know, ducking in and out of that hallway. After that first fight, when they went for the counter dive, UCLA was never really able to kind of figure out what they could do to stop Zerocious from doing work. If they ignored him, he'd get somebody in the back line, and if they didn't ignore him, if they went for him, you know, UCI knew exactly what they needed to do to take care of him.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to play like that Widowmaker or any kind of sniper, that position that Zerocious was camping, someone had to deal with it. Someone had to, for the space of the sniper. Now, I don't think they needed to really commit as hard as they did
Yes.
onto Zerocious, right? That's your two options. Either commit on Zerocious or commit on the 6v5.
Yes.
Instead, they try to go for the 1v6, which I understand there is merit to it. But again, like you had mentioned, they committed way too many resources there. They tried, I believe, twice. And, you know, when you try twice here on New Money, that's half your time just gone.
And I'd like to see a lot more composition diversity out of UCLA. I think they're sticking too much with that sort of segmented team, right? Where we see the Doomfist on one end and the Doomfist slash Winston, rather, and you see the hit scan on the other end. It doesn't feel like they're really taking advantage of what each of those kind of heroes can do, right? So if you want to run the hit scan, build a comp around him, make sure you're protecting them. Maybe you run the Reinhardt Zarya and the McCree and Brigade. That's what we've been seeing all day, right? Or you can just go full dive. You can do Sombra Doomfist, maybe Genji Doomfist. You know, I think that committing to one style of play will do them a lot of good.
Yeah, and honestly, you don't really have that much time to really theory craft. You do need to come up with a team identity,
Yes.
especially if you're playing here in the collegiate level, because again, these players they're juggling not just practice but also school at the same time. And I believe you do have to be a full-time student to be able to compete in TESPA, and so that's anywhere between like 12 credits to 20 credits, and so it depends on their course load. But again, you are balancing being a full-time student with being basically an athlete. So this is kind of new uncharted territory, really, for esports and collegiate esports.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like UCI has done their homework and their homework in Overwatch as well. They've come out very strong. You know, certainly we thought that we'd be seeing UCI versus Berkeley, right? So that's already one scalp that UCLA was able to take. But they're looking really outmatched here against UC Irvine.
Yeah, right now UCI they're just firing on all cylinders, and it's every member contributing. You mentioned it earlier. We were talking about supports getting a lot of the kill credit. Isaac Birdie is definitely one of them at this point, where even there on Numbani, he ended up getting 2-3 eliminations. But now, on to our third map. It is going to be just pure escort as we move on to Dorado. UCI will be starting off on the offensive end once again. UCLA here on the defense. They are going to be swapping now. Double hit scan coming out from them. The Widowmaker along with the McCree, but they're going to solidify their defenses with Preston on the Zarya and Juggernaut on the Reinhardt, which is more of what you wanted to see, Harsha.
Yes, absolutely. And look for Seven and Roxa to try and take opposite angles, make sure that they're always avoiding a shield, making sure that they can always find one target at least in between the two of them, right? Now, we're seeing a different sort of comp out of UCI. It's more of a dive comp, but they have Zerocious on the Widow. It might just be to get a primary pick, and he might go swap back to the Tracer, but it looks like he's staying on Widow for now.
Yeah, we'll see if they go for the full dive. Zerocious is still waiting by the spawn door. I mean, honestly, all it takes is just one peek, and there's the first one. Juggernaut is not quite the target you want to see there, but they've already forced a rotation out from UCLA. They do have to back away into the market now as UCI are making free headway, but Zerocious will be sticking with that Widowmaker.
And I think this dive is really what you want to see against a double hit scan. There's no Brigitte to counter them, to make sure that the tanks can't do anything. So with Genos and Learn to Play getting a lot of free reign, look to see a lot of cleanup right here.
Oh, Preston got split up from his team there. As Learn to Play jumped in with that Winston, finally he will fall. It's going to be a 3-for-2 exchange, still in favor of UCI. With a respawn distance, it works out in the favor of UCI here. Now, here we go. Transitioning targets. Genos is able to take out Roxa, is on to that Lucio, but he'll be able to speed boost away. He's even got the Zarya barrier there to keep him alive. And with the way that UCLA kind of staggered those kills at the end, or got staggered at the end, they're just not able to even contest here. So the point A goes over to UCI, and they got 5 minutes moving on to the second phase of Dorado.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a pretty dominant fight, I would say. I think that UCLA wasn't really prepared for that sort of dive. I would really like to see something like the Brigade come out, just because it's really good into these sort of dive comps. But instead, the adaptation is to swap to a Zarya while maintaining the rest of the comp. Sorry, swap to a Winston while maintaining the rest of the comp.
Really odd, right? They go kind of fracturing their composition,
Yes.
where I guess Preston might not have had, the spawn at that point. But Learn to Play going in once again, has to be careful. It's going to be Juggernaut actually going way too deep here. Preston only gets the D-Mech onto Tilde, so there is a moment here for Roxa and Seven to try find anything, but it's Zerocious and Genos on the other end. A takeout too. Just like that, UCI are just walking across UCLA.
And Genos and Learn to Play are getting so much value out of this dive comp. I really want them to swap on UCLA to something that's better suited to deal with these two. And now there's the Dragon Blade as well as the Winston ultimate. I think that UCLA is going to have a hard time contesting the rest of this map.
Nano is used onto Juggernaut as he comes out to contest the point. Sound barrier is there for UCI to keep them all topped off. They are fine and healthy. But here is the blade out from Genos. Nothing to really counter him here. He did get stunned up just for a second by that flashbang, but he's able to get the kill onto 7 now with the reset with the help of Zerocious taking out Roxa. Nice deflect onto the Ana. He needs to find the shurikens though, and it's going to be safe to take him out.
And he is able to get that pick. As Juggernaut's actually able to stall with the Primal Rage. Now, UCLA has really good spawns here. They're going to be able to actually stall out here.
Yeah, the Primal Rage is used. He's going further back onto that Ana. Not able to get select quite yet. They don't want to overextend because they've already won this fight. So good, discipline coming out from UCLA to back away there. UCI, though, it could have gone so much better for them. It looked so close. But that was a clutch flashbang coming up from 7 to really shut down some of Genos' lethality.
And we see UCLA's adaptation is rather to swap Roxa to the Tracer. So he's going to be looking for picks on that back line alongside Juggernaut.
Yeah, Juggernaut and Preston need to be able to get on to Zerocious here because we know what happens. He's a really great Widowmaker. The dive comes on in. Zerocious has a bubble right on his face. Has to be careful as the Tracer's on him. Here comes a self-destruct out from Preston. It does not connect, and he's not able to get back into his mech, and so now learn to play with that Winston. He has one less threat to worry about. Instead, it's Genos coming on in with that dash. Gets another dash reset as they clean up Stranger. And they'll be able to secure this point. They'll have about 4 minutes to finish off this map.
And we talk so much about Zerocious, how he's a player that's been known to play with these contenders players. You see him on streams a lot, but Genos has been doing so much work on this map. His Genji has been really tearing apart UCLA.
Yeah, he's almost got another blade too. He's at 98% now, and that's a great way to finish this off. Select has a nano boost for him. Again, they don't have an answer for that dive, really, that UCLA composition needs. We know that Brigitte is really good with the shield bash, the flashbang from a McCree, but instead 7 now has swapped off. They're going to go for that Doom Fist. Here comes the Nano Blade.
And it looks like the sound barrier comes out to counter it, but still able to get Sang and goes for more.
He's going to try and get that Lucio, but he's able to just dash around, and it's going to be a 2-for-2 exchange. Raxa keeping this alive for his team with a huge pulse bomb there. Learn to play. He does have that primal, but he doesn't need to really commit with it quite yet. Zerocious is able to take out Juggernaut, and so UCI will just stay on to the point.
And so even though that fight ends in a stalemate, they're still getting cart push for UCI. And it looks like that their respawns will come in soon enough.
Here comes the dive as 7 jumps in with that seismic slam and isn't able to get the full combo off with it, but that's a 3-man biotic nade. 7's caught up in it. They're trying to focus him down. Zerocious will clean him up, and now UCI advance, pushing forward. They're keeping their Diva alive right now as the self-destruct is used once again, but it's Genos in the back line taking out 2, and now UCLA are just crumbling to the dive pressure of UCI. They're going to be able to clean up this Diva. With that, we'll see. 7 jumps back onto the point with that Doom Fist. He tries to dance around, but he'll fall just like that. Again, though, UCLA are still able to try and keep this contested.
The Hammond is really fun to keep it contested. You just swing around, but actually gets taken out. Roxa on the Reaper as a last-minute stall, while there's a nanoed Lucio, whose ultimate actually gets canceled out.
Oh no, Stranger needed to get that off for his team now. 7 though with the Meteor Strike is trying his best, but he's getting stunned up, and Zerocious will take him out once again. And no one on UCI's side has fallen. As you can see, everyone gets the sound barrier there, and with that, UCI finished out the map. That was some good stall coming out from UCLA, but there was too much bleeding for UCLA to really try and stem there.
Yeah, they certainly had their moments, but UCI looked strong throughout the entire map. You know, despite the few hiccups, they overall, I think, played it better. And what really stuck out to me was actually UCI was able to get better value out of their antibiotic grenades, right? Select was getting huge 3-man grenades, and UCI was following up on all of it. Now, when saying of UCLA, he was able to get some big nades, actually, but there's no follow-up present to, capitalize on those grenades. And if there's no follow-up, there's no really reason to use it.
Yeah, we've seen since the return of the Queen of Ana that you need to be very offensive with these biotic nades, but it doesn't matter if you don't hit a 3-man, 4-man biotic nade if you don't have the damage behind it. UCI doing a really good job of kiting. They know how to fight these, get into these team fights and work around their own win conditions and their opponent's win conditions and make sure that they're not getting punished so far. UCI already up 2-0, completed the map with 2 minutes left on the clock. UCLA, if they want to run this back, there's a mountain ahead of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with this first point push, right? Because they haven't been able to get very much out of their recent maps against UCI. So we're looking at the comp that they're running out of UCI, the Doomfist again, and the Widowmaker. So this is sort of what UCLA was doing earlier, but I like this more on Dorado first, right? Doomfist gets a lot of value around those stalls, and he can kill tanks very easily.
Yeah, and again, he also has, of course, all the different verticality to work with. He's got all the rooftops that if he needs to disengage, he can just go ahead and use his Rising Uppercut, and then he's out of the fight and he's out of harm's way. Zerocious tags Raxa, but Raxa is able to survive there for now. Seven making his flanking route now, as they do need to evict them from the high ground here, as UCI are running that really rigid composition, that death ball-y composition in the Reinhardt and the Zarya. So they rotate on over, giving up the high ground for free. And that's going to be a bit dangerous for them because Seven is setting up for this dive along with Juggernaut and Preston.
Yeah, I really want to see what kind of raw that Seven uses, because Doomfist has so much mobility, and he should be able to get on the backline really easily. Now, it looks like Roxa is able to get the first pick on Zerocious, so now it looks like there's a chance to open it up.
Yeah, they're just able to go straight up the gut because they don't have to worry about the Widowmaker threat anymore. Nice biotic nade, finally followed up. Stranger even gets one onto Genos, and that's going to be a clean fight for UCLA here as Seven cleans up Learn to Play. And because of where they took the fight, because of when they took the fight, there's going to be no chance for UCI to contest this. And with that, UCLA take point A just as easily as UCI took it.
Yeah, and that was their fourth point this whole series, actually. That is promising, though, and it was a very clean fight. We didn't see a single kill out of UCI, so let's see if UCLA comes in with a new, reinvigorated look on this game.
Yeah, Raxa versus Zerocious. This is what we're looking at between the Widowmakers. Raxa was able to get that first pick on the fight now, and he's not able to get another one there, but he's looking for it. Zerocious peeks out, and he will get the better of him this time. And without a mercy there, they have to back away. Zerocious finding a second onto Stranger. UCLA have to disengage from this fight. They don't want to feed any more ultimates over. So good call coming out from them. But it looks like Sang goes way too aggressive with that. Genos is able to take him out.
What's really funny to see is we keep seeing these fights end early, but then all of a sudden Doomfist are still able to get backline kills after, in garbage time, I would say.
Yeah.
So as these respawns come in, it looks like UCLA is going to be sticking on the same comp.
This time, they are going to go ahead and try and get Seven into the right-hand side, but he's caught out by Genos and has to back away for the heals. He's got the Meteor Strike ready, and he's been able to connect with these multiple times. Goes on to Learn to Play, but here we go. Learn to Play, even getting Slap Darted, gets everything thrown his way. Oh, Learn to Play, he's got to be a little bit on tilt after that.
And in the meantime, Juggernaut's able to get a kill on the supports. Now, it looks like UCLA is winning this fight, but Zerocious has something to say about it, clearly.
Yeah, he does answer back, taking out Sang and Raxa, but a large number of the kills go over to UCLA. So they continue this push, but with the way UCI has been holding, they didn't let UCLA get free ground. So they'll have another opportunity to defend here. They've got the nano boost, so Learn to Play might get that. It could even go to Genos. We've seen them throw it onto Zerocious on Lighthouse, so we'll see where this goes.
I certainly think it should go to Learn to Play as he goes for the Zenyatta and the Ana in the backline. Now there is a Transcendence, but it's taken out by Genos.
Oh man, Seven tries to get into the back line. The Meteor Strike is going to be used onto the Ana, and generally you're supposed to be able to get them with that. The Ana doesn't have really any mobility. That's supposed to be an easy kill for the Doomfist, but he misses that as he tries to predict where she falls off the high ground there. And UCI, hold on for now. 3 minutes left on the clock for UCLA. Still plenty of time. They still have a lot of ultimates, but really being able to survive that nano boost is actually falling to that nano boost, that's what it was able to stop them. We'll see. Sang is at 63% towards his own, though.
And certainly remember that time is a factor in this match. There's so much time for UCI, but it looks like the engagement's happening here. Positions have actually reversed, and Genos is able to take out Roxa, while Preston with the big Diva Bomb on to Learn to Play.
Oh, Learn to Play tried to go for that barrier, but he popped it a little bit too early, and so did not get the mech there, as the nano boost is used by Juggernaut, even with, of course, that orb coming out from the Zenyatta. No, Juggernaut doesn't get back in time. He actually falls. The damage reduction, of course, isn't there anymore because it just fizzled away, and so that's going to allow UCI to come back right into this.
And it looks like this is where UCI is making their hold. They've won 2 straight fights here, and it looks like UCLA doesn't really know what to do. They've had some really uncharacteristic plays, I would say, when they look so strong walking up on this attack. Now all of a sudden they've found themselves stumped.
Yeah, they had their opportunity, but Juggernaut, he just kind of mistimed all of that, going back behind cover, also the Nano, and so, yeah, the Nano Boost fizzles, but saying it's at 60% towards another one. Genos has swapped off, though, onto the Genji, so he's a little bit disconnected from Select, who does have that Nano Boost, so I imagine it might go on to someone like Learn to Play into this next fight. We'll see. He's already dropped down to 50 HP. Nano is used, but Select falls now as Genos tries to jump into the back line. Roxa has Preston in the back with him, and so he will not fall, and it's going to be UCLA cleaning up these fights. Transcendence is used as they try to clean up this fight.
Absolutely, but it looks like UCI has the tools to stall, and their spawn is so close that they might be able to come back in here.
7 with the Meteor Strike connects till they're not able to get back into his mech, and UCLA will continue to push forward now. Again, though, UCI have the spawns, they can try and contest it, but instead they're going to go ahead and give that up and not feed away too much. Juggernaut goes in for one more slap to the face onto that Ana, but has to back away for now. He's got to be careful. He doesn't have anyone there. There we go. Preston is there to back him up. But, again, as is Winston, you've already used your Primal. The Nano was used on you. Just don't feed any more ultimates over to UCI. They've got the Nano Blade for this next fight.
And just short of 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, which means even if UCLA is able to finish, actually the Nano Blade comes out.
Yeah, taking Stranger out immediately. The deflect is there saying, what are you doing? You can't use that Sleep Dart into that. Juggernaut will be able to clean him up, but, you know, 2 ultimates and then get that team fight win. UCI. They know how to use their ultimates and try to stretch out that lead with it. Zerocious has now swapped over on to that Sombra, and so she can be huge. Oh, Juggernaut, I want to say that was the 200 IQ, but he was just trying to get high ground, and Zerocious was standing right there. So pretty lucky for Juggernaut there. So Zerocious, he wasn't able to get as much poke as he wants, and so now he's that much further away from his EMP.
And I'm really liking this comp out of UC Irvine. It's very much designed to go to the back line and make Roxa's life very hard. Genos actually able to take out Stranger.
Yeah, that was a beautiful play. I mean, they just go ahead and throw in that self-destruct, cause the anthill to just spread around, right? And then they find out Stranger. Stranger will be making a swap off. He's going over to Brigitte, as Roxa was able to learn to play, but still, these staggers coming in. UCLA need to stabilize before they try to make a push here, but they're caught out in the middle of the open. Roxa dropped down to 119. We'll be able to back away. So UCLA, they're down to 1 minute. They got one final play. They've made the swaps, but Brigitte and Ana isn't a composition that we get to see often.
Yeah, but I actually like this Brigitte here. You know, I would have preferred it on 7, but it makes sense. Oh, and Roxa gets the pick on Genos. But like I was saying, it makes sense because you want to really keep these dive tanks off of your McCree.
But they did not. So Zerocious was able to get right on top of him with the help of the rest of the team. Learned to play. Pomerage is pop now. Takes out Sang as Juggernaut tries to answer back. But no, that is a Sombra on top of a Mega Health. In fact, you're not going to be able to get much off of it. They're going to try and reset here. They got 30 seconds, so they do have the time. So good discipline coming out from them as we still have Stranger. He's going to be on the Brigitte. He's at 70%. But he needs to be on top of that shield bash. He needs to make sure that he's using it to peel. So he cannot miss it. It is a crucial skill here, especially with Genos coming up with another Nano Blade.
Yeah, and there are no defensive ultimates here to counter it. So you really need to make sure this Brigitte play is solid. Genos going to come up with the blade very soon, and they have the Nano.
Now, they were trying to focus down, learn to play there, but the sound barrier is used. Here comes the Nano Blade, select by fall. Genos does go down, but no one's on the points.
No, you hate to see that.
Yeah, I hate to see it. And, you know, it is just pervasive throughout everything. It just happens. It doesn't matter what region, what level of skill you play at, letter, number.
That's so unfortunate, too, because it looked like UCLA was going to win that fight. They shut down the Dragon Blade, the nano-boosted Dragon Blade. Oh, man.
Yeah,
Genos
gets knocked out. Select was maybe 10 HP left, and those were 2 huge win conditions to get both of those out, along with the Nano Blade combination. That would have been huge, but, you know, in the heat of the moment, you kind of forget that the payload's right there, so no one was on it. But still, UCLA were able to push that all the way. Now, that should have been UCI taking it because they still had 2-minute time bank there. So that is going to be UCI taking the victory in a 3-0 fashion, continuing, I guess, that tradition of the grand finals of any collegiate match where you just end up 3-0. They got 3-0 themselves earlier this year by by Berkeley, but it's going to be UCI walking away the victors this time. We'll see. Time will tell if this is just, you know, their reign of dominance here in the collegiate scene, or if these other teams can really come up and compete against them. Today we had UCLA, Berkeley, along with UC San Diego try their hands, but UCI, the hometown heroes, were able to walk away with a victory.
And we see that